Okay, Tina, I finally got this video to load, so I'm starting a little bit late just because I had a hard time getting it to load. It is 6:53. Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here to Qualcomm, excuse me, that was wrong, Qualcomm Stadium. I enjoy coming here. I would like to talk about your beliefs and your faith and how you share your faiths without causing fear. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Maria Heller, and I've come here to talk about how how you can share your faith and belief without making others feel threatened. So our point here is to share your belief and faith with your family and your friends. You know, it's getting close to the Christmas celebration time, and your friends and family may be coming to your house for the festivities, and you might want to talk and share your feelings about Jesus Christ with them and about your beliefs about Christmas. Because what is Christmas exactly? Christmas is Jesus' birthday. So I feel it's very important that you ask your family and friends, you know, do you remember when you accepted Jesus Christ, when exactly this happened? And you need to ask them these things. And if they don't remember exact time, or, you know, it might mean that they haven't accepted Jesus Christ just yet into their life. But you need to find out if they've accepted him yet or not. So sometimes when you're discussing these type of things with your family or your friends, they might feel really nervous about it. They may not really want to discuss Jesus. But it's an important thing to do because, you know, you want to know whether or not you're going to go to heaven or hell when you die. So it's extremely important. I remember in the past, I had someone ask me if I believed in Jesus, and I said yes. I grew up as a Christian, and they said, "Have you accepted Jesus into your life?" And I wasn't sure yet. And then I got kind of aggravated with them that they were preaching at me, and I actually kicked them out of their house. I didn't want to discuss Jesus with them anymore. And then I dwelled on this for a long time. And they asked me, how do you know Jesus? And I said, I do know Jesus. I grew up going to church. I went to church camps. I grew up a Christian. But whether or not I had accepted Jesus or not, I wasn't sure. So I was asked if my children, my son or my daughter, say had been in a car accident and they were killed, did I know whether or not they would go to heaven? And I really didn't know. And that meant that if I didn't know whether or not they would go to heaven, I didn't know whether or not I would go to heaven when I died. So my friend offered to take me to their church. And when we got there, the pastor approached me and he said, you know, are you ready to accept Jesus into your life? And I said, yes, but I'm not sure exactly what that means to accept Jesus into my heart. So the pastor and I sat down and he asked me, do you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior? And I said yes, that I did want to accept him as my Lord and Savior, and I was 18 years old at this time. So that day I had finally accepted Jesus into my life, and from that day on I wanted to share this with my friends and family and find out if they really knew Jesus Christ. So when they would come to my house, you know, I would invite them over for lunch, and we would discuss Jesus. Now, some of my friends, they've started thinking, oh, look at Maria. She's just preaching about Jesus all the time. And, you know, they were kind of refusing to listen to this. So from then on, when my friends, they would come over for lunch or breakfast or dinner, and we would a lot of times discuss Jesus. But I wouldn't sit them down and have this blunt conversation like, you must discuss Jesus with me. I would actually separate them from the discussion, and I would use a third party. And I would say, this is my friend told me about Jesus, or this is how my friend feels about Jesus. So I would say, my friend and I were talking, and he told me that you have to accept Jesus as your Savior and Lord so that, before you die. My friend told me this. And then I would ask them what their opinion was. And I wouldn't do this in a blunt way. I would use this third party. And I would say maybe my friend feels this way, or my friend's opinion is this. Okay, so now everybody has a bulletin about how to share. Everybody has a bulletin about how to share the word of Jesus Christ. So go ahead and look in this bulletin. It's it's a great bulletin, and many people use this bulletin, and it helps to explain who Jesus is and how to share the word of Jesus. So go ahead and open up your bulletin now. Okay, so now you're looking at the inside of the bulletin, and here's what I want. I want you to draw a picture of a stick person. It's one man and one woman. Go ahead. All of you draw that now. A man and a woman, the stick person. Okay, so now there's a man and a woman. Who are the man and women? They're the first man and woman, and they are Adam and Eve. Now remember, they are the original sinners. So, and how this happened was Eve had an apple, and she gave the apple to Adam, and he ate from the apple. They both ate from the apple. And that started the original sin. Now, this was the first sin. Before the original sin, if you died, you were automatically permitted to go to heaven. So what do you think about that? But now if you die since the original sin, you can't just get into heaven. You have to you have to give a reason why you should go to heaven, whether or not are you a good person, if you have helped the poor. There has to be reasons for you to get into heaven, and this is really, it's important. Also, the most important thing to help you get into heaven is that you have to follow God and accept Jesus as your Savior. And it's not easy to follow God 100%. You can't follow God 100% because we're people and we do sin. Now let's go back to this bulletin. So Adam and Eve are the original sinners, and they wanted to be close and related to God, but they had sinned. But they had been influenced by something. So let me explain about how this worked. So Adam and Eve as the original sinners meant that everybody born after the original sin would be born with an original sin. So what you needed to happen was that everybody needs to be born again. Now, does this mean that you literally need to go back into your mother's womb and be literally born again? No. What this means is that you're a sinner, so you must accept Jesus Christ into your life, and you have to follow Jesus and not the devil. And that once you have said that you accept that, you will be born again. Now, people are very curious about how this happens. There was a man that was curious about this. His name was Nicodemus, and he asked about how he could be born a born again Christian. And so, what needs to happen is you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and then your old sins will be put behind you. And you will now start a new life with Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And from then on, you have been a born-again Christian. Now, again, I'd like to explain another short story. What exactly it means to be a Christian. Does it mean that you never sin? I'm a Christian, so I will never sin? No. Only God is perfect. It is impossible for people not to sin. We could try, but it's not possible. People, even Christians, do sin. But it is important to try and be a good person and live a righteous life that is as close to God as you can. And this is hard, but You have to try and keep your faith and pray. Now, if you were to sin, does that mean that you have to be separated from God forever? No, it means that you just continue to pray and continue to pray. And now this was my kind of brief story about how to share your beliefs and about the original sin and how to become a born again Christian. Thank you.